What it do, Modified 95, just waking up in the morning, still got that deep morning voice. It'll get higher as the video goes on, as I wake up. I do have to work later, but right now, as our engine is coming back together, our LS, we want to check out the oil pump. Oil pump's been working great. I don't think these typically fail on a Honda, so I just want to clean this one up. And then I ordered a new gasket. Should be floating around here somewhere. I don't know where I put it, but I got a new red label gasket for this because this one was all crusty, so I'm just cleaning it off. I think the other ones are good. I might have new ones, but I think they're good. But I mostly want to clean this off, and my housemate said something about porting this, so I don't know how to do that, but I'm going to find out. Just a quick reminder of how far we've come. Bottom end is absolutely clean and spotless. Looks great. Everything is honed. It's fully loaded now, so I'm super stoked about this. We turn it periodically and keep it nice and oiled. It's like mostly assembly lube. I think is what's mostly on here. Even out here is looking pretty clean. So obviously this is where the oil pump's going to go, but we're going to get it all cleaned up before it gets set on there. So bottom end's ready. Top end is almost ready. We're gonna need to adjust the valves, but first we need to port match the intake manifold. So I removed all of the studs for the new extended studs because we were running into the problem with the Skunk 2 intake manifold. There was barely any thread sticking out, so that was a problem. And I also wanted to run a thermal gasket, so I ordered the Honda one. It came, it's blue. I have my reservations, but I'd like to try it out. And so that's at that point. And so it's just cleaning a few more things and waiting for that port and polish kit to arrive. I tried to order a really cool one for 50 bucks off East Bay, I believe the website was, but it just wouldn't let me order. So I ended up going with eBay. I try to support companies I know are legit, but when they're being difficult, I go with the easy route.
No good deed goes unpunished, my first mistake was trusting at all. No good deed goes unpunished, the second one was letting down my wall. No good deed goes unpunished, shame on me for caring about you. No good deed goes unpunished, it's all dead to me and I am through. No good deed goes unpunished, my first mistake was trusting at all. No good deed goes unpunished, the second one was letting.
All right, people, we cut away for a quick time lapse. Like everything, I love oven cleaner. I spray it on here. I had to make sure I didn't scrub off this timing mark, which is like the most important thing on the oil pump as to getting everything aligned, because I don't have all the fancy tools to degree everything and make sure it's at top dead center other than what it says on like the cams and the belt and the timing cover. It's all the stuff. But yeah, we had to clean this real good. And like, once again, nobody's going to see this. I mean, this faces the engine, and then all you really see of it is like this when it's mounted in place. Actually, it mounts like this. But like, yeah, all you're going to see is that little bottom lip, which is now super clean. But I'd know if it was dirty. And also, too, power to weight ratio, I wanted this as clean as possible so we weren't carrying all that extra mess and slowing me down. Also, I wanted this clean because if anything's leaking, it's a lot easier to see on something that's clean. If every engine part is just covered in grease, then you don't know if you have a leak, you don't know if you have to fix something, and next thing you know, all your oil runs out and your motor blows up. So don't want that to happen. So at this point, we're gonna go in here, and I think we're gonna port this by opening it up and just cleaning it out further. So let's figure that out.
It's so hard to figure it all out, to even keep track of the countless times.
Just stay away from that. All right, so these always look different inside. I mean, it's the same combination of parts. This is the cover. This is the little piece that spins that creates the oil pressure. I think it pulls it up through this hole because the oil pickup goes right here into this thing where it spins and then pushes it out here into the rest of the engine. And this is some sort of pressure regulation device. So sometimes this gets a little beat up and you have to smooth it out. Mine looks pretty good inside. So I didn't mind after cleaning this, like washing this in the sink, because I knew I was going to open it up and I could take a towel and just make sure this was completely dry inside before it got reassembled. And also, without this cover on, I'm going to be able to take a wire wheel and just clean up this edge so it can reseal, because the little RTV goes on there. And so there's a lot of remnants from the last time that it was taken apart. So I'm going to do that real quick, and then we'll just get it all fitted back together. And so now this bad boy is bare. One of the things we're looking for is metal shavings, because this piece contacts against this piece, and as long as it's small and can get flushed out, that's fine. So everything's getting cleaned up. So this is the old gasket. I mean, it doesn't seem to be bad, not that I can really tell. It's just not ripped or messed up that way. But of course, when you order stuff in an obsessive manner, here is a replacement one that goes in this hole. Don't have a replacement gasket for this, but I also didn't take it out, and I was very careful when cleaning this mating surface not to hit this, because I don't want to mess that seal up. And then here's our other little gasket. So I'd like to just throw this back together. This is not really a complicated task. And then that one goes right there. And then get the oil pickup back on, so the bottom end is just more together on our GSR build. So we cleaned one mating surface, bing. Now we're just taking a gentle wire brush and going over there. I mean, it's just like doing it with hands, just a little bit faster. Doesn't do well with rubber gaskets or seals, so of course you would avoid that. But on here is a perfect place to do that. With porting, usually there's some grinding on like the intake and the outtake of our intake exhaust of the oil pump. But because this one was so smooth and was having no issues, we didn't really have to do anything. So sorry if you're expecting to see something cool. I've heard of people shimming their oil pump, but we're not going to do that, because although it may cause some advantages in raising oil pressure to make sure that your engine's not starving of oil, which that was never our problem, but it can also cause gravitations. If you've seen U571, that means splashes inside the engine, which could cause for more turbulence and disturbance, which would be a net negative in a build. So now here's for the bearings, it could cause a problem. It could cause them to get dry spots where they could get messed up, which is a big hassle because we had a bearing issue. So I know that's something I definitely want to avoid. So now the trick is we need to find our RTV or Honda Bond, and then I think it's always RTV. We don't ever shell it for Honda Bond, I don't think. Yeah, we think Honda Bond's thinner. We love Honda, but Honda Bond is if you have it, use it. If not, use something better. So we just gotta find all the bolts that hold this on so we can get this back together. I love making progress, even if it's a little at a time, and it's nice to see something so clean before it goes back in and becomes all chocolate again. Okay, so after we put a little RTV on the mating surface, we just tapped it on. Once it was clocked and fit, we made sure that the seal that we replaced was flushed and didn't get pushed out by hitting that. And then we're just gently tightening everything up. There's, I want to say 6 bolts you're looking for. These 2 top ones are 12s, and then there's 4 10s that are going to be, and then it's back on. And then when the RTV goes on, you're going to notice that a little bit of it squirts out like that. Don't mess with that. Let that dry, and that's going to be aid with like the sealing process. And then as we come over here, I just gave this a little wipe. This doesn't have to be super clean. I just wanted to make sure that any metal shavings were off of it. So I mean, more of the cleanliness I did was on the inside. Turn this over. Yeah, so I just wiped it out, make sure there was nothing sticking in there, no old RTV from that might have been floating around in the oil, and no metal from the bearings that let go. And then the way this goes on, I was sitting there turning it. This little hole, that's where the dipstick goes through to tell you what your oil level is. So it sticks through there. So if this is the back of the engine, then it should go this way. All right. And then now it'll be my task to find the little bolts. I'm sure these are probably 10 millimeters, and then 10 millimeter nuts that fit this. And this will be attached. And then I gave this a little wipe too. If you can see in there, try to get some light in there. There are a couple little pieces of metal right there. So we're going to clean this out super quick, and then it'll mount right here with that little gasket, bam, right in between here and there. And then it has 2 bolts that hold it right there. So I look up, and the mad scientist has a torch. And what he's doing is he's holding the oil pickup, and he's using the heat to make all that stuff fall out. So all those little pieces of metal, if they're small enough, they just burn up. You know, if they're big enough, they just slide out onto the ground. So in the meantime, I am looking for the mounting hardware for this oil pickup. I got the gasket, I'm opening that out of the bag, and then I have my 2 tins, and I gotta find 10 millimeter bolts. And the problem I'm having is I kept everything pretty well organized, but the problem that I'm running into is that while we started deassembling this, we had just taken apart a D16Y8. So everything that was worth keeping off that block was on a t-shirt on the floor while I was reassembling or deassembling this. So a lot of those things kind of got mixed up. But luckily Honda is pretty consistent and a lot of the things are very the same. So I will find 2 nuts that fit, and then we'll come back and that oil pickup will be on and this gasket will be on and be all bolted together. And I think that's where we're coming to a stopping point. We have the rear main seal, I think is what it is. We have that, but it's really hard to put a lot of that stuff on while it's still on here. So until it's together, we're gonna wait on that. All right, family, this is where I leave you. I tried not to make this video too long. We see everything is back on. The baffle, this, it's not as hot as it was, but it's all cleaned out. Screen looks beautiful. There's nothing in there. Got these anchored on. Remembering to put the gasket in. Yeah, so here's where we're at. I'm gonna work on this probably off camera, and if I can get it on, I will. If not, I'm just gonna clean it. I was glad that there was no actual work we need to do to the oil pump because it was beautiful inside. We have 2 others, so one of them might end up getting done. One, I just want to see what the inside looks like. So if it's bad, we might do an oil pump porting video where we actually show what actually happens during that process so I can learn as well. And then we have the B16 that's going to come together, and I have an oil pump for that. So here it is. And we got a new, I want to say tensioner on, and we just set this in place. I just want everything where it needs to be so it's more inclined to come together. All right, until I see you again, fam. Later.
No good deed goes unpunished. Shame on me.